I want to thank everybody for coming today. These ride the patterns I think are very helpful and can really kind of help you prepare for these patterns that we have to do. And hopefully they're going to take a little bit of the nerves out. I know that everybody's here, the World Show's getting ready to start, they're a little nervous about their patterns. So hopefully this will help you feel a little more prepared and a little more ready to do them. If there's any questions along the way, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm happy to answer any of your questions. A little bit, what the judges are looking for are not only a good solid pattern, but we want to see a good connection between the handler and the horse and that communication that goes with that. Smooth transitions, good pace. We want you to have pace through these patterns, but we want you to have control too, okay? We don't want you to be going too fast where you kind of lose your control through these patterns. Smooth, solid transitions, good pace. Several of the patterns have some degree of difficulty to them, so we'll talk a little bit as we go through these patterns of how the judges will be looking at that degree of difficulty. There's a new scoring system that's out this year, and I think it's, I've had a year to use it. It's a good system. It allows each element of the pattern, each maneuver of the pattern to be scored from a +3 to a -3. And then there's the adjustment of penalties this year, which aren't as high as they used to be. So with that scoring system, you could be +ing 2 and 3 through your pattern, and you might have a minor or major penalty in the pattern, and you can still be in the game. So you just really need to keep showing through these patterns because you never know. That one penalty is only one element of the pattern, where your pattern has probably 7 to 9 maneuvers in it, so you can kind of make up for that. So just want you guys to know to kind of keep showing as you go through these patterns. We're going to start out with the amateur Walk-Trot Showmanship. We have Dale Solons here to help us kind of go through the patterns. So I'll place myself as the judge. He is just kind of learning these patterns, so he doesn't have them down real well, so I'm going to have to kind of talk him through it. We're going to place the judge fairly close to the wall here because we're going to have the judges up in the stands, so they can kind of see it from an overview a little bit. I think that's always, I know when I'm judging, I can always see a little bit more from up here. So. Okay, so it says be ready at the cone. First maneuver is to walk past the judge 2 horse lengths, so he'll walk off. And he'll walk past the judge 2 horse lengths. Good, then number 2 will be back approximately 6 steps. We're looking for 6 steps here. If you can nail the 6 steps, that's a little bit higher degree of difficulty right there. If you get 7 or if you get 5, it's not going to completely hurt your score, but 6 steps is kind of what we're looking for right there. That's going to get you your higher score on that maneuver. So then you perform number 3 is perform a 180-degree turn, and you're going to walk an arc, okay? Then you're going to stop with the shoulder, even with the judge, and set up. And at this point, you will actually cross over, okay, and wait for the judge to do his inspection. And on this particular pattern, we're going to have the judge start walking around the horse to his right, okay? Then after inspection, you will do a 180-degree turn and walk away to exit. Good deal. Are there any questions on this pattern? Raise your hand if you have any questions. Okay. So her question is where the horse is going to stop on the judge. It's going to be with the horse's shoulder at the judge. So when you finish setting your horse up, you will cross over at that point, okay? And then the judge will walk to his right, around, come back around to the shoulder, so you will stay, you'll be on the far side, and then when he dismisses you, you will cross over, then you will do your 180 and walk away.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
Let's say you accidentally go past the shoulder of the horse, John. So now you might actually be in a different quarter for inspection. You know, my horse is up here and the judge is here. So what do we do then? Do we adjust automatically? Or, you know, it could happen, obviously.
Yes, her question is, what if you go past the shoulder? Okay. If you clearly go past the shoulder, you'll be getting the deduction because you missed that element. And so that's going to affect your maneuver score. And if you're clearly past the judge like that, at that point you do not have to cross over. Okay. But
So do your inspection quarters correctly, obviously.
do your inspection quarters correctly. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So, but you'll be fairly close to the judge right there. I think you'll have a good feel for where your horse is and the judge. So I think you'll be in that area, you know, pretty close. Yeah. Any other questions? So this is kind of the first time that we're kind of running these patterns in this arena, and Dave and I were just talking a little bit about in that last pattern. We might bring the judge out from the fence a little bit more to make that arc just a little bit tighter, because it did get a little wide on that arc. So I think we'll make that adjustment on that pattern. Then moving on to the novice amateur and the solid bred. Are you ready, Dale? Cone will be on your left. You'll start by walking 1 horse length, which is anywhere around 4 to 6 steps. You're going to trot a corner, turning at the judge, even with the judge. You'll stop, do a 450-degree turn. Back 2 horse lengths, approximately 2 horse lengths. Walk a corner and halfway to the judge, you'll pick up the trot. Set up for inspection. After the inspection, do a 270-degree turn and trot to exit. So, I mean, the hard part of this pattern is going to be getting that turn at the trot and holding that line across the arena from the judge. Because at that point, you're not really going to be seeing where the judge is at, but you really want to be in line with the judge and keep that straight line across the arena. You guys have any questions on this pattern? She's asking where you can kind of, the degree of difficulties where you can kind of up your score on this pattern. I think having, you know, a good flowy pace at the trot, okay? Having an efficient, straight, you know, a turn where your horse is turning and it's staying very straight through its body through the turn. The backup is definitely a place that will separate some in this pattern. Having a good, efficient backup that doesn't look forced, but yet the horse looks like it's willing to move backwards with the, you know, the handler kind of asking very lightly for that. And then just really finding those lines across the arena to the judge, okay? I mean, I think that's gonna be really important in this pattern that you're on that line across the arena, so, yep. Yes, it says trot to exit. I mean, the judges, once you get kind of, you trot past that cone, I mean, the judges are going to be ready kind of for their next horse anyways. So once you get past that cone and you're headed to that gate, if you break to the walk, that's fine. You're not going to be counted as a break of gate or anything like that. So. Any other questions? Okay, we'll run through this pattern one more time. Okay, deal. I feel like he's getting a good distance up there toward the wall. You could maybe go a step or two further, but he's still at a good place. Somewhere around 8 steps is going to be your approximately backing 2 horse lengths. When you're walking back and you pick up your trot, where you pick up your trot, it's kind of in line with that line that you did in the beginning of your pattern, which is about halfway. And this is where the inspection would be. And then a 270, turn and trot to exit. Good, are we good on this pattern or any questions? Good. Okay, this is the amateur prelims and the master's amateur prelims also. So you'll be ready at the cone. First maneuver is to trot off and trot a corner to the left. Now when you trot this corner to the left, you have to kind of remain enough off that rail because you're going to have to do a pretty big turn coming up. But you trot the corner, then you're going to break to the walk past your judge. The distance looks pretty even there. You know, the amount that you trot and the amount that you walk is a pretty equal distance. You'll execute a 450-degree turn. Back in L. Then you'll trot a corner to the judge and stop. Set up for inspection. After inspection, perform a 90-degree turn to the right, walk to exit. Good deal. Do we have questions on this pattern? Yes.
Is this how you want us to exit?
I believe they will be exiting down at this end of the arena. Because this is a prelims class, then usually those will exit down here. So, yep. She's asking how many steps do you back on the L?
How long should it be?
That's kind of, that's really up to the exhibitor, how they want to lay that out. You know, there's a little freedom there of how you want to be able to do that. You know, as a judge, I would like to see at least a few steps going straight before you go into that corner. It's kind of, it's up to you. You know, just keep it in proportion to how the pattern is drawn also. So if you go too far that direction, then you're going to find yourself after you've backed the corner and you go to trot off to the judge, you're going to feel like that corner and up to the judge is really tight. So, yeah. Does anybody want to see that pattern run through one more time? Okay, we got one. Yeah, we can run through that again. We're just trying to make sure that we get that when we trot that corner and we have that trot and that walk on that far side, that it's a pretty even amount of trot and walk without trotting all the way up to the judge, because that's not how it's really shown on the pattern. That break to the walk there should happen before, just like you did it before you get to the judge. Stop and do your 450 turn. Back your L. Trot your corner and up to your judge. set up for inspection. Then a 90-degree turn and walk to exit. And the exit will be at the far end of the arena. Good deal. Any questions? We got this one. Are there any questions on the finals pattern? Hold on, get a little bit closer.
Just how you're gonna have it set up, like where you're standing, start showing all that.
On this pattern here, in the finals pattern, what's your question?
Just to where the judge will be and stuff, is that going to be at the Richie or is it going to be more up? That'd be good. That's all that.
We have not determined where the judge is going to be on the finals pattern yet, but it'll be it'll lay out fairly close, I think, to like Richie, or maybe up to the PH just a little bit past Richie, I think is where it's going to be. So,
Thank you.
any other questions? Good. I just kind of want to reiterate a little bit about, the judges are really looking for the exhibitor, the handler, to be kind of in unison with their horse, smoothness, soft hands, having precision to the pattern, but also having a lot of feel, okay? And not just, kind of bumping and letting their arms kind of hit that chain on that horse's chin. You need to really be light with your hands, and just very correct on your transitions and your maneuvers. So.
And it's kind of a general all around it, because I've gotten kind of mixed reviews, depending on the judge, obviously, but as far as the length, for instance, the length of your lead, having a little slack in the lead to the horse's head, is that a plus? I mean, to me, it's all about the horse reading your body language.
He's asking about the kind of the length of the lead shank in handling in the showmanship. It should, for me as a trainer, most of mine have maybe about 4 or 5 links that come out of the halter
Right.
to the hand,
When you're
and
loose, you got some slack in the lead, in other words.
it should be loose at times. It should have a light look to it. It should be, have a look that it looks loose, but not draped the whole time. I don't mind when an exhibitor uses their hand and if they make a connection with that horse, and that horse is soft and steps right up there to their hand. I mean, I'm fine with that. That's how it should be. I don't want them to be stiff and afraid to use their hand because their horse might lift its neck or head.
Right. Now, yeah. I guess the point being not pulling the horse around by their head, but you want
Yeah, you don't want it to look heavy either. You don't want them to be leaning on their hand and kind of pulling away from them and not holding that straight line. Yeah. Good. That's a good question. Any other questions? What gets bonus points on the inspection? Well, I think the judges are looking for confidence and someone that looks like they are enjoying what they're doing, not scared to death, and their timing on the crossovers, having a lot of stretch through their body. I think that all comes in kind of with confidence. You have to look like you really are comfortable out there, and I think the judges assess that and will give you credit for that. Okay, we're about ready to start with the horsemanship. Same kind of thing with the horsemanship as the showmanship. We're looking for that rider. In the new scoring system, part of that evaluating those maneuver scores as we go through is seeing what the connection that the exhibitor has to the horse. There has to be some kind of connection there. I would prefer to see, an exhibitor that maybe has some faults in the horsemanship, but is really riding the horse well. Getting away from some of the horsemanship riders that are a little too stiff and a little too rigid, and maybe don't have a good feel for their horse, and so their rhythm is a little off from what the horse is doing. I think the judges are looking for, an exhibitor that kind of has that feel of from the hand to the leg, to the horse's mouth and the horse's side. Everything's kind of together. They have a connection with the horse and they have a feel for that horse as they go through the pattern. So I think, and that gets evaluated in those maneuver scores, anywhere from that, +3 to -3. And then we have a form and effectiveness box there also, where we can kind of evaluate that form and connection that the exhibitor has to that horse. And if anybody has questions about that kind of part of the horsemanship too, feel free to ask. I know everybody wants to see these patterns go through, but if we need to talk about that anymore, we can. So the first pattern that we're going to go through is the amateur walk-trot pattern. So it starts out with maneuver 1 is walk 2 horse lengths. Maneuver 2 is going to be jog, make a square corner, making a center line across the arena. Extend the jog in a circle at the center of the arena to the right and continue to B. Then you'll stop and back, perform a 180-degree turn to the right. You'll walk back to that line that you created across the arena. Pick up the jog. You'll stop even with cone A. And you'll exit at a walk. Dave, on this pattern, it does talk about the center of arena at the center line. So do we need to actually use that center line where they cut across the arena? And where did you tell me that was? Right here? Okay, so then I'll need to move that cone probably up. So we are going to use that center of the arena, which is right here where I'm at. This will be your center where you go across the arena. And you'll do your circle. So we're going to take this cone and move it up. Okay, Dale, well, I'll have you go through this one more time. Okay. Walk your 2 horse lengths, pick up your jog. Jog your square corner at the center line. Extend trot your circle to the right and continue up to marker B. Stop and back. It doesn't say how far, but that's a pretty good distance. Do your 180, walk off, and then around that same line that you used across the pin, you'll pick up your jog. You'll jog up and you'll stop even with A. And exit at a walk. Do we have questions on this pattern? Okay, I think we're ready for the novice amateur and the amateur solid paint-bred. In these horsemanship patterns too, we're looking, we want to keep that forward motion going. We don't want a pace that just looks like it's kind of dragging and the hocks are kind of falling out behind it. You want to keep that forward motion going, keep those hocks kind of driving forward. So the first maneuver is walk 2 horse lengths. I'm going to kind of stand in the center of the arena again. Pick up your left lead, make a square corner at the middle of the arena. Simple lead change, right in the center of arena. Then you'll do a right lead, half circle. Break to jog, pretty much kind of in that center of arena, or middle, even with the middle of the arena. You'll jog up, you'll stop, perform a 225-degree turn to the left, lope left lead to center, break to the extended jog. You're on a diagonal line here, kind of coming down. I thought his line was really good, and you stop even with your start cone. I'll have him ride through it one more time because this pattern goes kind of quickly when you have that forward motion going like you did. You guys have any questions so far? Yes. How many strides on the simple lead change? It should be anywhere from 1 to 4 strides. Like a good breakdown, and you don't want to go too many strides before you pick up that other lead. So the higher degree of difficulty is getting that simple done, like right away within 1 or 2 beats. So that would be a +3. Yeah, it depends how smooth it is and how well it's ridden. I mean, all that, the connection that the rider has with the horse through the transition, all that kind of matters too, in that it gets evaluated in that. But if you can make it kind of efficient and you can ride it well and not fall back or fall forward, yeah, you could get a +3 on that. Okay, Dale, let's go through it again. Your walk of 2 horse lengths, then lope your left lead to the middle of the arena, do your square corner, do your simple lead change in the center, right lead half circle, break to jog, and stop. Perform a 225-degree turn to the left, lope left lead to the center, break to the extended jog, and stop even with your start cone. That was good, Dale. Thank you. We have any questions? Yes. The hands to be in position? Well, I think you should have your shoulders and your elbows should be in line, and you should have a soft bend in your elbows, somewhere around 90 degrees, maybe a little bit less than that, without getting too stiff. More importantly, it's just keeping a really good connection with your horse, and keeping a nice straight line without being too stiff. Having good feel with your horse's mouth, keeping your horse's, responsive in its rib cage to your leg. All those things are really important that the judges are going to take notice of that. We're good on that pattern?
Was that a good piece? Is that like kind of where you want your pace?
Yeah, I like the pace that Dale had, yes. It was, I mean, that horse was engaged, was loping good through the pattern. I thought that looked good. Yeah. Okay, this will be our amateur and masters amateur pattern. We tried to get some patterns this year that kind of would use the arena. You know, we want to use a large portion of this arena, keep our forward motion, kind of keep our pace up. Okay, be ready at A. First maneuver is to back. Doesn't say how far, so that's kind of your option there. 360 to the right, then you pick up your left lead. About halfway, you're going to change leads. Halfway to B, you'll change leads. And then you'll be on the right lead, making a square corner at B, break to the jog, then make a square corner at the jog. Going up about halfway, you might be just a little short there. You'll want to go halfway there, kind of even with where your lead change was. Then you'll execute a 450-degree turn to the left. Then you'll lope off left lead with speed. About at the top part of your arc up there, you're going to collect. When you're back at the cone B, you'll break to the extended trot. You'll have that diagonal line going down there, and you'll stop even with A, and then exit at a walk. So Dale, I think on that last extended trot, we maybe got just a little bit too angled. I got you a little too close to that wall. I think when you are loping around on your left lead and you break to the extended trot, you should have an angle that's not quite that steep across. So then you won't get too close to that wall. Do we have questions on this pattern?
I was wondering, can we bring the cones a little more this way so we had a little more room to get in for
I actually was just thinking the same thing because, yeah, Dave, I think we're going to move these two cones over just a little bit, which will give them a little more room to get their extended lope started. Probably in line with that red line, huh? Is that good? We'll try that, see if it'll give them just a little. I agree with you. It needs a little more room right there. Okay, Dale's going to run through it again. Starts with the back. 360 to the right. Then loping off on the left lead. A little higher degree of difficulty. That's a hard element to start out with. A little degree of difficulty there is getting that right turn and getting that into that lope off fairly efficiently without a lot of hesitation there. Left lead halfway, change in leads, and then right lead doing a square corner at B. Break to the jog. Jog your square corner, stop. Execute a 450-degree turn to the left, loping off and going into your extended lope. Do your collection at the top of the arc. At cone B, you'll break to your extended trot. Good, I like this line that he picked this time a little bit better. Stop even with the start cone. And then you exit at a walk. Good deal. Do we have questions on this pattern? think it's a good pattern, gets kind of the forward motion going really well. Uses the arena, which is good. She's asking about the turns and how you should depart from those turns, like how quickly. You got to show control, but I do, like you're asking if that should be completed before you go into, yes, the turn should be completed. You need to be accurate on how far you turn and making sure you're accurate on where you stop the turn. And then if you can depart into that lope off departure, you know, kind of right away without a lot of hesitation, that's where the degree of difficulty is going to go up, and that your score will rise in that area if you can kind of perform that really well. But it is important that you complete the turn. You know, don't come out of the turn early just to lope off soon, faster.
All 4 feet stop moving. Is that
Well, just finish the turn in the direction. She asked if all 4 feet should stop moving. No, not necessarily. I mean, you finish the turn and you can go right off. But just make sure your horse has completed that turn and is in straight with the lead that they're going to take off in.
I had another question, sorry.
Sure.
About cone B, when you're loping around it and then you break the jog. The first time he broke the jog, more of a straight line, and the second time he broke when he was already on that angle. Does that make sense?
After the square corner on the right lead.
No, the ground cone B, when you kind of hug cone B.
Oh, where to break down to the extended trot off of. It says add B, so I feel like you should use your space and get yourself, you know, a stride before that cone. You should be fairly straight with the line that you're wanting to take, to where you have maybe one stride that's straight, and then when you're at this position next to that cone B, that's where you should ask for that transition to the extended trot.
What are you looking for in the pivot? What constitutes a good pivot?
She's asking what constitutes a good pivot. You know, efficiency. A horse that, you know, keeps a good top line, that is efficient on moving its legs, that doesn't step back, that doesn't try to step forward. A rider that has good feel, because part of getting that good turn comes from the rider. So that rider needs to keep that horse balanced. I'm not only just watching the horse, but I'm watching the rider too, and how well that rider executes that turn, how well that rider uses his or her hand and leg together to perform that turn efficiently.
Do you have a preference on which hind leg they maintain around the spin?
She's asking if there's a preference on which hind leg that they use during the spin. You know, a horse that turns correctly is going to hold their inside leg, put more weight on their inside leg. You know, but when you get up there and you're putting a lot of energy and pace in a turn, you know, at some point they have to step off of that leg. They can't hold it in the ground or it's going to break. You know, so but I like to see a horse that puts more weight on the inside pivot foot as it turns. Yeah, that's a little more correct for sure. So. When you start, preferably, you know, what I teach my clients is that they have somewhere between the horse's shoulder and the rider's, where they're sitting in the saddle, is kind of where they should be to start on the marker. Okay, I think we'll be moving on to the equitation. So equitation will be our next ride the pattern. A little bit about the eq. We've really been working on the horse IQ in the equitation and getting a lot of, there's a lot of examples on there of trying to educate, you know, the exhibitors in the equitation to be able to have a connection with their horse in the equitation, being able to keep a full forward stride, better connection with better, you know, position in the rider's, you know, heels and lower leg, along with keeping that horse's shoulders and neck, you know, up in their hands. So if you ever get a chance to kind of look at the horse IQ, there's a lot of really good information on there. And we've put some thought into the equitation and have been working on that. So again, along with the horsemanship, we're looking for forward motion. We're looking for a horse that, you know, kind of steps up there and uses its body, has some good range of motion and some forward motion through the pattern, along with a rider that has, you know, a good tight leg, heel down, but is also being effective as a rider also. Okay, the first pattern we're going to go through is the amateur walk-trot. The start cone will be on your left, cone A. Be ready at A, walk approximately 2 horse lengths. Poor Dale's having to learn all these patterns just off the fly. I don't think I could do it. Posting trot on the left diagonal. All the way up to B. At B, perform a sitting trot arc to the left. So you sit trot your arc, and then when you get back even with B, posting trot on the right diagonal. Down the middle of the arena. Stop even with A, back. Then do a 90-degree forehand turn to the left. And exit at a walk. Dale, let's ride through it one more time. Walk 2 horse lengths. Posting trot left diagonal. Sitting trot at B. Posting trot right diagonal. Stop even with A. Back. 90-degree forehand turn to the left. And walk to exit. Are we good? Okay, the next pattern we're going to run through is the novice amateur and the amateur solid bred. Your start cone will be on your left. It starts, you'll be off your marker in this pattern because you'll walk to the marker. Just give a good amount of walk steps there. Maybe like 8 steps or so. Pick up the right diagonal. At the center of arena, you will stop and perform a 90-degree left forehand turn. Canter right lead. Up and around using the end of your arena. I like the distance that he used up there. I don't want you going all the way to your rail, but you know, use your arena. Come around the corner, and then you'll break into the posting trot on the left diagonal to the center. At the center, you're going to canter your left lead. Down and around. Staying on the inside of the marker now. Canter up till about right there. Then you'll stop and back. 180-degree turn to the right on the haunches. Sitting trot to exit. Dale, we'll have you go through it again. Do we have any questions so far on the pattern?
What are you looking for on the sitting trot?
What am I looking for on the sitting trot? I'm looking for, you know, a forward trot, just like you would be posting to, but sitting at it and being able to letting your hips kind of roll with the horse a little bit. It's not all about being perfectly still. It's just about having that, you know, keeping everything. You don't want to have a lot of movement, but you want to be with your horse too. And kind of allowing your hips to kind of open up and kind of move with your horse helps that.
Can you bounce? Or a lot of bounce is not good.
You can have some bounce, you know, but along with the bounce, I'm gonna be looking at your seat, and I'm gonna be looking at your lower leg to see if that bounce are you having too much bounce because you don't have that strength in your lower leg, those kind of things. But yeah, you can have some bounce. Yeah, his horse kind of stalled out on him a little too soon, then he pushed it up a little bit too far. You're gonna come around that arc and straighten up to come back down the arena, and you're not gonna go back up to center, but you're gonna get fairly close, maybe about 4 or 5 strides back up the pin before you stop. But you don't wanna go all the way to center. Okay, Dale. Right diagonal to the center, stop, 90-degree left forehand turn, canter right lead, good, I like how he's using his arena. He's going to come around this corner and find his diagonal line. Break to the left diagonal, to the center. Canter on the left lead. Good, did a good job keeping that diagonal line. Stay on the inside of your marker, back up the pin. Probably about 5 strides or so, and then you'll stop. Back, 180-degree right turn on the haunches, and sitting trot to exit. Okay, our next pattern is going to be the amateur and the master's amateur eq pattern. Again, this pattern starts with a walk to the first cone. I'm going to make sure you have that walk in there. Pick up the sitting trot to the middle of the arena. Posting trot left diagonal. Canter left lead, moving into the hand gallop. Around your end, finding your diagonal line that's kind of angled towards your start cone. You'll change leads, simpler flying at the center. Collect canter and round to the right. Then you'll break to the left diagonal, making a right corner at the center. So you kind of come back down to your center where your lead change was. Then you'll stop, 270-degree turn to the left on the forehand. Then you'll back, and right diagonal to exit. Good, very nice. Dale, I'll have you go through it one more time.
I have a question.
Do we have questions? Yes.
So where it shows you going to the hand gallop across the top of the arena, it shows you going straight, but I thought it looked a little nicer doing a soft arc. Is that permissible, or do you want to see the straightness across the top?
Well, she's asking where you go into the, where you gallop off and go into your hand gallop. If it should be straight there or if it should kind of arc right there. I feel like it's a little bit arced there.
I mean, this part. So where you come across the top.
Oh, I see, across the top, in your hand gallop. It can stay a little bit arced. I think this arena, because it's so rounded at the end, it's going to be hard to get real straight. And if you notice the arena, I mean, my kid does cow horse in here all the time, and those rounded ends will really make it tough. So we have that roundness of the end of the arena. So if you're not perfectly straight right there, if you have a little bit of an arc, that's okay. Yeah. And that'll be something that I talk with the other judges about too, just to kind of explain this arena and how rounded it is at the end.
Do you want to see just like 1-2 strides and then be into the hand gallop? Pretty much, it says just move into the hand gallop.
Yeah, she's asking about moving into the hand gallop. I think you should show maybe, canter off, have a couple strides where it's just a canter, and then go into your hand gallop at that point.
And when you enter into the hand gallop, is it permissible to collect up your reins a little bit, or would you rather have your hands stay where they are when you move up into?
She's asking when you go into your hand gallop, is it permissible to go up your reins? Yes, it is. It's actually the way you're supposed to do it, okay? So you will crawl up your reins as you get into that 2-point position in the hand gallop. You will crawl up your reins some.
And how many
Yes.
strides after the lead change?
How many? Say that again.
How many strides after the lead change before you come out of the hand gallop into a regular stride?
She's asking how many strides after the lead change do you collect? I would say you would change leads and probably you'll have like 2 strides that are still hand gallop, and then at that point you will sit and collect. Any other questions? Okay, we'll let Dale go through it one more time, and if you have any more questions, we can address them then. So walk to cone, sitting trot down to the middle of the arena, left diagonal, canter left lead, moving into the hand gallop. That little bit of roundness there of that arc, that's okay, that's fine for this arena. Change leads, simple or flying in the center. Collect. Now he probably went about maybe 3 to 4 strides before he collected, and that's still fine, just somewhere between probably 2 strides and 4 strides. You should be collecting before you get to that corner. And then he broke to his left diagonal, trotted around, stopped 270, turn to the left on the forehand. Back and right diagonal to exit. Good. Just make sure after you've collected your right lead and you come around and you break to the left diagonal, make sure that comes up pretty close to the center of arena when you make that final arc to go back down the center. Any questions? It's a lot of information, a lot of patterns all at once, but hopefully this will help you guys. I mean, I want you guys to feel more prepared because of this. Take a little bit of the nerves out, and good luck to everybody.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.